I believe what we have here is a failure to communicate. Uh, what's happening? Because what we're seeing is a level of hypocrisy that is expressed by like plutocrats in the Hunger Games, right? This is like Elysium, right? We're in a situation where public health is at stake and there are lives at risk. There's an entire demographic of the country by which a majority, if not almost a majority of Americans fall into, the elderly geriatric demographic. Our nursing homes are at risk, our elderly are at risk. Everyone's at risk. From a new and novel disease that no one understands completely and our bodies are not used to. What we're being told is that we need to shelter in place. We need to avoid crowds and large gatherings. We need to stay away from our family, our loved ones, our friends. We initially needed to stop going to work. We needed to stop tending to our bodies, stop going to the gym. It also means we need to stop tending to our minds and our emotional well-being. Stop going to the doctor, to the therapist, to your AA meetings. We can't go out and enjoy anything. Stop going on cruises. Stop traveling. Stop freaking going to the movies. No laser tag. Like nothing. Do nothing. Say nothing about it. Because questioning it is to is to tout this idea that your personal liberty, that your civil liberties don't take precedent, that they don't in this situation matter, and that for the greater good they need to be foregone. Now that said, what we are seeing is a hypocrisy that cannot be excused. And this is the most recent one, right? Denver mayor traveled for Thanksgiving despite pandemic, and Twitter was not happy about it. Oh no, Twitter. But I mean, this isn't the first time, right? You Washington Post, WAPO. I'm not subscribing. Yet another politician breaks their own COVID-19 restrictions. Okay. Pelosi went to get her hair did, right? I get it. Not really. Because they shuttered barbershops. The New Jersey governor got into it in a restaurant, right? And this is back in May. Democratic governors take heat for flouting their own coronavirus lockdown guidelines. So we'll do this one first, and then we'll read about the most recent one in Denver. So this was from back in May the 28th. Some Democratic governors are taking heat for apparently disregarding some of the coronavirus recommendations they themselves have asked residents to abide by to limit the spread of the virus. And let me continue this. From Virginia to New Mexico, governors have implemented strict orders meant to curb the spread of COVID-19 that killed more than 100,000 Americans at the time, only to be caught flouting those guidelines in some cases. Take the case of Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. Northam, who is no stranger to controversy, visited Virginia Beach alongside Mayor Bobby Dye on the second day of the beach's reopening last weekend. Virginia Beach's reopening is considered a test to see if people can safely follow social distancing rules before other beaches in Virginia can reopen. Subsequently, we found that not only in Virginia and places like California, this just did not work. Northam, who previously served as an army doctor, quickly came under fire when images of him surfaced on social media not wearing a face mask and apparently in close contact with other community members. In April, he had asked residents to consider wearing masks while out in public. On Monday, Northam issued an apology for going out in public and having his photo taken with constituents while not wearing a mask on during the coronavirus pandemic, saying he takes full responsibility for the gaffe. I was outside, saw people who wanted to take pictures, and I messed up. Along with his apology on Monday, Northam announced the new mandate requiring Virginians to wear face masks while out in public when social distancing measures cannot be enforced. The new measure is a requirement for anyone 10 years or older and is meant to stop the spread of the virus. Let's see. New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham is also taking flack for reportedly making a purchase from a retail jewelry store last month. At the same time, she ordered many industries to temporarily close following her statewide public health order. we're really in tough financial times, and as a state, it mirrors the incredible personal sacrifices that happen every single day. Days after her remarks, however, she called an employee at the Lily Barrack Jewel Shop in Albuquerque, where she has a long-standing relationship, of course, to make a purchase over the phone, the news station reported. No one was allowed in the store at the time because of the public health order. Grisham spokeswoman Nora Myers somebody told the Albuquerque Journal that the transaction complied with the governor's emergency public health order at the time and that she didn't receive special treatment. A friend of Grisham's picked up the purchase items left outside the jewelry store's employee's home. There were no state guidelines broken. It was a completely contact-free purchase. Republican state lawmakers accused Grisham of hypocrisy for not following her own orders because curbside pickups outside stores weren't allowed until May 1st. I mean, it's special treatment, but it's minute. But the problem here is that the emphasis is so heavy, and they're fining and jailing people and threatening life, liberty, and property that you would think that they would follow the letter of the law that they're asking you to follow to a T. And then we have, of course, Gretchen Whitmer, who took shots from critics after her husband reportedly dropped her name while trying to get the family's boat put in the water in the northern part of the state. Last week, Whitmer announced, this is back in May, Whitmer announced restrictions would be lifted in some regions of northern Michigan, but urged those who didn't live in the region to stay away. If you don't live in these regions, think long and hard before you take a trip into them, she said. A small spike could put the hospital system into dire straits. Yada, yada, yada. Whitmer's husband, Mark Mallory, a company called... Whitmer and her husband own a vacation property about 25 minutes from Traverse City, but the family permanently resides in Lansing, over 150 miles away. Whitmer's husband, Mark Mallory, called North Shore Dock LLC, a company that reportedly stores the family's boat, last week, and mentioning that he is married to Whitmer in an effort to get the boat on the water soon. Yes, just using his pull from on high. But it's rules for thee and not for me sort of deal. But this is Denver. So Denver mayor traveled for Thanksgiving despite pandemic, and Twitter was not happy about it. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock asked people to avoid traveling for Thanksgiving and then hopped a flight to Mississippi to spend the holiday with his wife and daughter. The hypocrisy, first reported by 9 News, amounts to an unforced error on the mayor's part and one that risks delegitimizing pleas from public health officials trying to stop the spread of the surging coronavirus. Hancock later issued an apology. I recognize that my decision has disappointed many who believe it would have been better to spend Thanksgiving alone. As a public official whose conduct is rightly scrutinized for the message it sends to others, I apologize to the residents of Denver who see my decision as conflicting with the guidance to stay at home for all but essential travel. Hancock said in a statement, I made my decision as a husband and father, and for those who are angry and disappointed, I humbly ask you forgive the decisions that are born of my heart and not of my head. But in 2020's court of public opinion, it ain't going down like that, and it made things worse. And then we go to Twitter. I mean, I'm not. This is the thing about Twitter. Regardless of if you have a blue check or mark or not, I don't really concern myself with it. It's just the maturity of your comments. So let's take a look. This is the last time Denver needs to hear public health guidance from Mayor Hancock. If the city has a leader who actually follows the advice they give to the public, we'll put them on instead. Tay Anderson says our mayor has abandoned his city during one of the most critical times we needed leadership the most. Yada, yada, yada. Shame on you, Mayor Hancock. All right. So, it has been consistently like this. I wanted to get to the WAPO article, but that's not going to happen. And we are not seeing a let-up. New Jersey governor went through a toss-up in a restaurant recently. This actually just recently happened. They were confronted while eating dinner, and a video was shared on social media. I forgot about that. Murphy said on Tuesday on CBS This Morning, just after hecklers shouted expletives at him and his family during dinner, that he understands that people are experiencing exceptionally high levels of stress. See, this is why that only aggravates it more when they try to excuse the behavior. Now with Denver's Mayor Hancock, he didn't try to excuse it. Well, he he tried to justify it to some degree, but he didn't try to excuse it. He said, yes, I did this. It was born out of my heart. I'm a caring, considerate person. I'm a family man. I wanted to be with my family. People can kind of empathize with that to a degree. But Governor Phil Murphy, him just kind of sliding off, saying, well, people are really stressed, and that's why they had that reaction. Like, you're kind of missing the point of all this, the hypocrisy of it. But he says there's no reason we should have to be having a political discussion about whether or not you're wearing a mask. We were dining outdoors in the middle of our meal, he told the morning show's co-host. Murphy added that he and his wife have thick skin and could take it, but added, I'd prefer folks to be more civil and to leave our kids out of this. Now, I do agree with that. The whole idea of ambushing people's families, things of that nature, I've never been a fan of. We've seen this before. Representative Maxine Waters called for people who were breaking the restriction guidelines to be accosted verbally, to be met in person in their face. So this is where the rubber meets the road. But I'm not. I don't think I really need to play the video. I highly doubt this hypocrisy is going to cease anytime soon. We've seen brazen actions taken by governors and mayors across the country. Recently saw that Vermont is going to be interrogating its students about their Thanksgiving plans, things of that nature. Everybody, stay tuned. If you like what I'm doing, please like and share. And be well to each other. Take care.